So this is where my health journey started 18 years ago, when my best friend unfortunately died in a car crash, and it pushed my body into a physical, chemical and emotional response. When people go through health crisis, usually they get one or more of those reactions, and that's what causes their body to go into a state of illness. At the age of 16, I was already suffering with quite bad acne, but then at the age of 17, when my best friend died, that pushed my acne into overdrive. And what started off on my face and a little bit on my chest and back turned into severe acne, cystic acne in those places, and also started to develop in my groins and just above my bum, my lower back. This was actually excruciating, and this went on for a long period of time. No matter what I tried, I went to the doctors, they gave me medication, and they gave me different pills, etc. None of it actually made me any better. And from the age of 17 to 19, I can continue to take the medication, although it wasn't doing me much good. I went to university at the age of 19, where I went to play rugby at a high level, but these cysts just kept on getting worse and worse, to the point where they were even stopping me being able to walk properly. This was when I got told to go on a drug called Roaccutane by my doctor, also known as Accutane. Now, if I knew then what I know now, I never would have taken it. It's a vitamin A derivative. It completely destroys the liver. It's why you have to get liver tests every month. If you go out in the sun, it leaves you burnt. And so anything that means you can't go out in the sun, you should already, it's just send alarm bells ringing. The sun's the most hidden entity on the planet, but you can't do that. It's also got a 100% chance of birth defect for women. That's why girls said you shouldn't be trying to get pregnant if you're taking that drug. So I was on Roaccutane, and although the Roaccutane got rid of some of the acne, it didn't do anything for my cyst, which kept on coming and getting worse and worse in my groin areas and my lower back. And so I somehow continued to keep playing sport. I managed to get a contract to go and play in New Zealand, and whilst I was out there, things just got worse and worse. I was on different courses of antibiotics, but I finally had to come back to England. I managed to get another contract to play in Scotland, but then it got to the point where it was just too much. It was really struggling to even walk. I had to even put plasters over my cysts so it stopped them rubbing. It was at this point where I went to see my dermatologist again, and he said, Ryan, what we're going to do is we're going to put you on some steroids. So I was taking steroids for my skin. Now these they really flushed me out. They made my skin go red. Although they got rid of some of the cysts for a small period of time, they completely flushed me out. They blew me up from 78 kgs to 97. So I put on basically 19-20 kgs. They made me feel terrible. And as soon as I come off them, everything came back again, which just was the problem. I wasn't getting to the root cause of it, anything that was going on. At this point, my dermatologist said we can start to give you bleach baths, actual bleach baths. So this is what I was recommended by a dermatologist, to go and have baths filled with bleach to try and help my skin issues. And because I didn't know any better, he's an expert, he's a doctor, I followed it. Now these bleach baths were excruciating. They led me to be itchy all over my skin. Irritation was unbelievable. But you follow the advice because doctors know best. When this didn't work, because nothing they did worked, he was like, well, the only things that we can really do now is actually have surgery to try and cut these cysts away. And I was like, well, whatever, I'll do whatever you say, because I just wanted to get these things gone. There, I'd gone from someone that was enjoying life, could play lots of sport, had lots of friends, etc., go out, to someone that couldn't leave the house because there was so much pain. So I went and got the surgery for these cysts to be cut out, and everything was good until 6 weeks later it wasn't, and they started to come back. So I went back to the surgeon and said, I just want these gone, like you said this would work, what can we do? He said, well, we'll do it again, this time we'll go deeper, we'll make sure we'll get to the root of the issue. So I was like, fine, let's go for it again. I went and had the surgery again, and once again everything was great until it wasn't. And 6 weeks later the cyst came back, and I was in excruciating pain. So not only did I had 2 surgeries, but I had to go through the embarrassment of getting my wounds and cysts packed by my mum and dad, which was very, very embarrassing. And not only had the surgery not worked, this time, because I'd been on so much medication, because I'd been on steroids, and I'd actually even been on steroid injections. Something I left out, don't know how I left it out, was I developed keloid scarring over my chest and back because my cyst got so bad. keloid scarring is when the wound over heals and you get little rubbery nodules, and I had all these rubbery nodules on my back and chest, and this meant I was just super embarrassed. I wouldn't take my shirt off in the change room for 7 years because of how I looked, and it was just I had zero confidence at this point. And the steroids, the steroid injections, the medication, anything I've been taking, the bleach baths, has completely wiped out my immune system. And then I had surgery, which, you get general anesthetic, that completely wipes out your gut flora. This led to me having crippling gut issues, and I even had thrush of the mouth. Now, if any woman knows what thrush is like downstairs, imagine it in your mouth. It was like having a knife shoved in my mouth every time I tried to eat anything. And if I did get anything down, it was like having the knife ripped across my stomach because I was in complete pieces. And so I found myself, completely depressed, overweight, a shell of my former self, not wanting to be here, not wanting to live, if this was what life was going to be like. Gone from someone who was happy-go-lucky, enjoyed life, to someone that just couldn't enjoy anything. And it wasn't actually until I stumbled across my first mentor who changed my life. And the universe gives you clues in wonderful ways, and one of the only things I could do back at the time was actually that I enjoyed was watch sport. I used to be a big sportsman, so I enjoyed going out, but I couldn't do that, but I could watch it. And one of the boxers I used to love, David Hay, was fighting for the heavyweight title of the world against a guy called Nikola Valuev. And David was training in Miami, and he had Sky Sports were doing a show at the time called Behind the Ropes, where they went and looked at everything he was doing, his training regime, what he was eating, etc. And this is where I came across Ruben Tabares, my first mentor, who was David's coach at the time, and he was talking about all things I hadn't heard of. He was talking about getting David internally healthy, having probiotic-rich foods, fermented foods, talking about juicing and cleansing. He was talking about all these things that were completely new to me, even though I'd been around the professional rugby setup. I'd been around professional coaches and nutritionists, but I was used to having things like energy drinks, luminous drinks, and protein powders that I later knew that were complete garbage, the protein powders that we were getting, and all these things that were performance enhancing but were actually highly toxic for the body, which I later found out. I come across Ruben, I was like, wow, this guy, I need to speak to him. I wrote an email to, I found out who he was, found out where his company was. I wrote an email to him, and I lucky to get on the phone with his assistant. The next day I booked a time to go and see him, and I think it was like £350 at the time, best £350 I ever spent. And going to see him, Ruben opened my eyes to a world I didn't know existed. He told me what was going on. He told me how my internal health was off. He told me that I was super toxic, how I had candida overgrowth. He told me how I needed to really work on myself internally, but also mentally and emotionally, to believe that I was going to heal. Because those that don't believe they can heal likely never will. And to come at things from a completely different perspective. And I was like, how is this possible? This guy hasn't got all the medical degrees that I've been speaking to all these specialists, quote unquote specialists, consultants, and they hadn't been able to help me. But this guy knows what's going on. So I listened to what Ruben had to say. I followed the diet plan that he put out for me. I followed the health principles that he put out for me. And I also went and saw a biological doctor that is now someone I use as my secret weapon. And by using the diet that was put in place for me, by following the healthy principles, and by following the biological medicines and using them, within 6 weeks I was a different person. Within 12 weeks my body was transformed, and I never looked back. I never had any more cysts, I never had any more acne. My skin started to clear. I dropped body fat, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I just need to understand. Once I learned that I've been lied to this whole time about what actually took to create health and to heal, I wanted to know more. And so I spent the next 3 years being mentored by Ruben, and also traveling the world to learn from the best. I went around Europe, I went to Asia, I went across America, and I learned from the best doctors in the natural health world, as well as practitioners, etc. And everything that I came to learn, the secrets of healing, was, one, you had to get your gut health right. Your gut is the root of all health. All health and disease starts in the gut. Once you get that right, it's really just the start of everything. Then the other thing I learned was the food you're putting into your body, how important that is. So much food today is toxic, it's refined, it's processed, and you are everything you eat. but also you are everything you are when you're eating. How you need to get the system nice and relaxed. You need to be in your parasympathetic system rather than constantly stressed in the world we're living in, and how important your environment is. You know, you are a product of your environment. And epigenetics, this is something else I learned, it doesn't matter what genes you got, whether you got a cancer gene, a gene for Alzheimer's, etc. If you live a certain way, you'll never express them. And so I went around and learned all this from all the different doctors, as well as spending time with my mentors, and that allowed me for the last 13 years to go and work with clients from all over the world and help them heal from all different health issues, whether it be a gut issue, whether it be a skin issue, whether it be an inflammation issue like arthritis. It doesn't matter. The way you heal from anything is the way you heal from everything. And so I just want to tell you this, guys, because I want you to understand that I've been there. I've been where if you're ill, if you're tired, or if you're overweight, no matter what it is, you've had a chronic illness that you just can't seem to shift, no matter what you've tried from the mainstream, the medical industry. I want you to know you can heal. You just got to come at things from a different perspective. You've got to give your body what it wants and needs to heal. And once you do that, once you come from a place of creating health rather than fighting disease, it's a game changer. You know, at Revive, we've helped over 7,500 people heal from all manner of issues, and we've done it by concentrating on them, not the disease. Okay, we concentrate on the person. And once you start to change your diet, your lifestyle, your environment, it's a game changer. And we take people from just surviving in life to thriving in life, to living life on their terms, so they can go out and be the best mum, the best business person, you know, own their own business, go on holidays again, wear the clothes they love, you know, spend time with their family, whatever it may be, you know, raise their kids, have energy for their kids, put their energy into them and their life, so they can actually get the most from it. And so that's my message from you today, guys. Okay, no matter what you're going through, you can heal and you can create the life that you want. When you start looking at things from a different perspective, you have to start looking at the root cause of your illness. And as I said before, there's 3 different ways. You can either have all 3 of these or any individual one, and that's a chemical, physical, or emotional response. Chemical can be a reaction to a recreational drug or a drug prescribed by doctors. We'll get into that another time. So you've got chemical. Physical can be an accident or an injury or a car crash. And then mental and emotional, which can be losing, like I did, my best friend, a loved one, or a loved one getting severely ill or having a terminal illness. All these things can push your body into that state where it's out of balance. It's the body in a state of dis-ease, a disease. When it's in that state of disease, then you'll start to get illnesses. With your genetic weaknesses, that's what you'll start to show. So for me, it was my skin and my gut. For other people, it could be Alzheimer's. Other people, it could be cancer. Other people, it could be inflammation or arthritis. Whatever your weakness is, it gets exposed. We like to say your genes load the gun and your lifestyle pulls the trigger. But once you start to live in accordance with Mother Nature, once you start to get your body back into balance, back into harmony, back into ease, your body will heal, okay? It will heal. I've seen it countless times, thousands of times, from people all over the planet with different illnesses. We just had to give your body, as I said before, what it wants and needs to heal. And I'm here to help you do this if you need help and, you know, get to the root causes of your problems.